The funnest podcasts are the ones when you get to visit with people that you have admired your whole life. The following is an A-Team PR production.
Welcome to the Free Range Texan podcast. We're kind of an escape hatch for everyday life. We know today's world has issues. Maybe that's just all the more reason to spend some time. So saddle up with a bunch of Free Range Texans. Here's one now, our host, Michael Shawn.
Episode 59 of the Free Range Texan podcast. We are packed up and ready to roll. And this time we have actually sent what we like to refer to as our special Free Range Texan retrieval unit. That's what I said. To personally escort our special guests to appear on our podcast. This guy is not easy to bring in, but we've pulled it off. Our special guest on episode 59 is none other than Kenny Maines. And yes, before you ask, our chief of security, Foxy the Wonder Dog, is back here, keeping a close eye on our perimeter, including our vast tour bus parking area. And, of course, the fresh snacks arriving in our green room. That's right, Foxy knows you can't be too careful. A good dog, Foxy. Michael Shawn's Campfire is being stoked as we speak. All of you have a special invitation to that unique experience. And this campfire has got something really going for it that we don't often get to say. We're going to tell you where the treasure of gold is at. Well, almost anyway. So I'm thinking it's time we settle up and get ready to ride. Have digital microphone will travel.
Senor, what are you doing?
Aiming high over the wall. You're listening to the Free Range Texan podcast. Time now for another segment of the Free Range Talent File. Brought to you by A-Team PR, bringing a host of creative media production and public relations services to our exclusive list of clients. Maybe you could hire the A-Team. And now, here's the next segment of the Free Range Talent File. Howdy, y'all. I got a treat for you this time. Here's Kenny Maines with his song, The Magic Train, on the Free Range Texan podcast.
Nothing ever happens just the way you think it should. Nothing ever works out just because you thought it would. The time you have to travel is beyond your estimation. Every road you take, you'll find another destination. All aboard the magic train, there's music in the air. All aboard the magic train, there's magic everywhere. You can open up your eyes and see your dreams come true. You can open up your heart and start life anew. Sometimes the wind is at your back, Sometimes it's in your face, but trust the wind to take you to another time and place. Sometimes God is on our side, sometimes it's hard to tell. Some of us are heaven bound, some are bound for hell. All aboard the magic train, there's music in the air. All aboard the magic train, there's magic everywhere. You can open up your eyes and see your dreams come true. You can open up your heart and start life anew. Now some say life's a circus if you take away the pain. Some say life's a mystery, the circus is the same. Just one ticket to get in and everybody pays. Climb aboard the magic train and make your getaway. But if we all joined the circus, we would never have a home. We would all be wishing for a place to never roam. A place that we could call our own, a place to settle down. A place just made for waiting till the circus comes to town. All aboard the magic train, there's music in the air. All aboard the magic train, there's magic everywhere. You can open up your eyes and see your dreams come true. You can open up your heart and start. All aboard the magic train, there's music in the air. All aboard the magic train, there's magic everywhere. You can open up your eyes and see your dreams come true. You can open up your heart and start life anew.
That's Magic Train, and that's our friend Kenny Maines on the Free Range Texan. And welcome, man.
Michael, it's a pleasure to be with you. How are you, brother?
I am blessed better than I deserve. I will admit that. It's amazing. I don't know, somehow we managed to get this podcast up and going for about 3 years now. And for some reason, we waited this long. I think our people were calling your people or whatever, but it took you and I running, eat into each other at one of your gigs for me to realize we can't go another month without having Kenny as a guest on the Texan.
It's so nice of you to say that, but I tell you, Michael, I've been waiting by the phone for the last 3 years for your call.
You're awful, man. Okay. All right, everybody. Kenny's here with us now, though, and we've got him. The thing about Kenny Maines is he was born in Lubbock, Texas, lived out around Acuff in 1954, you old guy.
That's right. And you should know about the old aspect.
Same age as me, yes. And Kenny, if you're from West Texas, Kenny Maines and the Maines Brothers Band, y'all are like family. Everybody knows, loves, appreciates you, respects you, and really likes listening to your music. And it's always been so.
We have so much of a connection to this part of the country, and it really has been that way for so long. As a matter of fact, my dad and his brothers had the original Maines Brothers Band back in the late 50s, early 60s.
Yeah.
And of course, they were quite the influence on us. But also, I think people then even started to get used to the name and become familiar with that and know that.
So they were the original Maines Brothers Band back then in the 1950s.
Yes. Right. My dad, James, his brothers, Raymond, or they called him Sonny, and then Wayne Maines, kind of started the band here and played out at the Cotton Club. In Lubbock, out on the Slayton Highway.
The legendary Cotton Club.
Absolutely, which was really one of the venues that we started at. We put together the Little Maines Boys band. Back when I was 11 years old. So you take from 1954 to about 65, we put together the band, and we were playing a matinee at the Cotton Club from 4 to 7 on Sundays.
My goodness.
And then my dad and the Maines brothers, they would finish up the night from 8 to midnight on every Sunday. And so that's kind of how we started out with our public performance.
Okay, now I've got the scoop on that. And I'm hoping you, excuse me, I'm hoping you have a picture of this, but they used to stand you on a wooden soda pop crate so that you could reach the microphone.
That's what I really don't have a picture of that, but it is true that, because I was actually, at that time, there were 3 of the brothers, Lloyd, Steve, and myself, Lloyd being the oldest, Steve next to Lloyd, and then me. And so, with the stair stepping there of the ages, I was the shortest one of the group. And so it was necessary for me, was singing as a trio, because we all gathered around the same microphone at that point.
So you were the Donny Osmond of West Texas. Gee whiz, thanks, Michael.
No, and actually, I've been a fan of Donny Osmond's for a number of years. So I appreciate you saying that. But and without a doubt, and of course, just like me, Donny was the cutest one of his brothers.
I see that correlation. Yes. Oh man, you guys had so much fun. It was popularly known that you guys were out of actually Acuff, Texas.
Yes.
That's a going place out there at Acuff.
It is. Yeah, it's digressed a little bit over the years, but Acuff has never really been more than just a cotton gin and a filling station. At one time, amazingly, they had one of the most famous steakhouses in Texas.
Oh my, yes,
the Acuff Steakhouse, which is no longer there, but had some of the people would come from miles around just to eat at the Acuff Steakhouse.
All right, well, Kenny, now you, and correct me if I'm not correct on this stuff, you have produced 8 albums, you and the Maines brothers, and you guys had all of that going. The last couple of albums, was it, that was actually for Mercury Records in Nashville?
Yes, really, probably the fifth and sixth albums were for Mercury Polygram. We signed a contract with the Nashville record company back in the mid '80s, and had 2 releases with them. One was High Rollin', Maines Brothers Band, and the second one was called The Boys Are Back in Town, and really had some mediocre national success with those.
I wouldn't say that, Kenny, but you go ahead and be, like that if you want to be. They were big tunes and very popular. It was hard, though, I think, for broadcast stations, particularly at that time, to find your niche. You guys had your own special sound, and
we've actually heard, we had heard that at that time, because people were trying to find radio stations were trying to find a place to put us, and because we did so much live performing then, and we had our audience, we had our following. Now, and I hate to pat our own backs here, but there's so many of the style of music that we did back in the mid '80s that you hear now on American radio. So,
I
think, there's so many musicians, that get to take credit for that. Yeah, I know Joe Ely was a big part of that movement.
And he had the same problem.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. But in some cases, we almost had to go underground just to get some airplay. And the biggest thing we had on Mercury was a song called "Everybody Needs Love on a Saturday Night" that actually got up to that made the top 20 of the Billboard charts, and so that was a really exciting thing for us. But mainly we were just out there, Michael, on the road, playing the music that we love and enjoying being, and actually I have to say enjoying being a family together like that, which a lot of family members, siblings don't get a chance to do that. And I think we were because of our occupation and the music, we were forced to be together when most siblings have grown up and having families and either moved away or not able to spend that much time together. But we actually, we were blessed in being able to spend time together in our 20s and 30s with family members.
Now, even though this interview is about you, Kenny, but that's the thing about Kenny Mayne's folks.
That's what you promised. Yeah.
The thing is, though, Kenny Mayne's is all about family. He's got his music family. He's got his real family. We're going to talk about that in a moment. But it's always been a family thing for you, Kenny. And a lot of people have not connected the dots. There's a young lady who has done pretty well by the name of Natalie Maynes with a group formerly known as Dixie Chicks.
That's right.
And Natalie is your niece. Is that correct?
Yes. Natalie is Lloyd's second, number 2 daughter. And Lloyd, of course, is the oldest brother. And actually, people don't realize that I'm actually Natalie's favorite uncle.
Somebody get Natalie on the phone.
Well, now she may not admit to that, but I think deep down, she really feels like that. That I am
certain that's true, and I can certainly see why. Yeah, you guys opened the show for Alabama. Reba McEntire, Barbara Mandrell, Ronnie Millsap, Dr. Hook, and the Judds and many other artists, but the big one I have saved for last. You opened the show for little Jimmy Dickens.
Yeah, yes, we did, and I tell you, you talk about a music icon, and of course, Jimmy is definitely missed by millions of people. Yes. But what an incredible, talk about having to stand on the soapbox, on a Coca-Cola case, to get to the microphone. Jimmy was that way too. He had his reputation, but one of the funniest human beings on God's green earth, and so that was, and we enjoyed working with all of those people. The one thing that I discovered was that every person that we were lucky enough to be to share a stage with, because they knew the business and they weren't handed anything on a silver platter. They had to work hard for everything that they'd gotten, and they appreciated that. And they were also, they were willing to pass on their experience to these young guys coming up from Lubbock, Texas, that needed some advice on getting into the business, and also giving us a shot to share the stage with them and give their listeners and their their fans and supporters a chance to hear something else.
Well, Kenny, you guys were never, as they say, eat up with yourself like so many do, particularly in the beginnings of their career. Right. You were humble and you were open-minded and ready to learn, and professionals, consummate professionals to work with. And I don't think a lot of people realize behind the scenes in the music business how far something like that goes. It's very important. And you guys did that.
It really is. And some of that, it comes from our upbringing and the fact that we grew up, on a family struggling to feed everybody's face. And my dad, even though was a musician on the weekends, was an auto mechanic during the week. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. But you got to figure, we eventually had 4 boys and a girl in our family, and that was a lot of mouths to feed. And so we struggled with that, but spent a lot of time together playing sports together in high school because we were close enough in age to do that, and just
right.
had a great time, and we also took the music business very seriously, and knowing that and learning early on that it's not all the glitz and glamour that so many people think that it is.
Yes.
It's hard work. It's just something that, and that's why you have to make sure you have a passion for that.
And Jerry Brownlow will fall off the stage every now and then.
Yes, he will.
I know. Don't go there. Okay.
Yeah. I have witnessed that, and not for what people might think. It was actually.
Oh man, it's so much fun talking to you. And speaking of fun, a lot of people don't realize this, and it's amazing that they don't. Now, the people that know, but you would be surprised, particularly here in the West Texas area, where there's a young lady by the name of Shawn Maines, who is a news anchor at KCBD Channel 11 currently in the mornings. And Shawn, she has been like a staple in the business for so many years. And a lot of people think a lot of her. She's very professional and very polished. And so everybody knows Shawn Maines, but you will still be surprised at the people who go, what? She's married to Kenny Maines? Or nowadays, Kenny, nowadays, is it like you're Shawn Maines' husband?
Well, absolutely. And that's what, as you were telling that story, I was reminded of a time when a little lady came up and asked me for an autograph.
Yeah.
And I was signing an autograph for her, and she had a friend with her. She looked at her friend. She said, "You know who this is, don't you?" And her friend said, "No." And she said, "This is Shawn Maines' husband."
Exactly.
and so I signed the autograph, Shawn Maines' husband. So, but.
We were talking about the fact earlier when we talked, we were talking about the fact that you can always tell a good woman by the way she will, how well her aim is with a nice tea glass or perhaps an ashtray, that sort of thing. And I suppose you and Shawn never have moments like that, do you?
No, all I can tell you is, thank God that the world has finally done away with cordless phones, and because Shawn was known to be a dead eye with a cordless at just the right time in just the right spot, and so but now that she has a cell phone, she doesn't want to waste it.
You have to buy a new one every time you do that. Folks, you heard it first here on the Free Range Texan. And
exactly,
man.
yeah. So now she'll have a reputation to to defend here. So
there's another thing I want to cover right quick, because it is such an amazing thing that you do in your solo performances now. Now, a lot of you people may think, well, he just comes out and brings his guitar and sings. And that's what I thought, too, until the other night when we were there at that banquet and you began singing, and holy smoke, suddenly I started thinking, where are those background vocals? Where are those gals at? And I started looking around the room. I thought, how does he do that? And there's all of a sudden there's all this other instrumentation, and it is so clean and so good. Plus, your set list was the best I have ever heard in my entire life. It went from one song to the next, and they were perfect. It's exactly what needed to happen next. And I pay attention to things like that because, I'm an old radio guy.
Oh, sure.
And holy smoke, I leaned over to my wife and I said, listen to his set list. Watch what he does next, and then watch what he does next, and then listen to what he does next. And you must spend hours and hours and hours creating your set list for the show.
Amazingly, and I will tell you that I have been in this business long enough to somewhat have a feel for the audience that I'm playing for. And to be honest with you, I never work from unless I'm on stage for a show at the Cactus or something like that, never work from a set list per se. That I,
holy smoke.
When I'm singing a song, I start thinking about the next song I'm going to do. And that to me, it really makes it more interesting for me because it's somewhat of a challenge. And then at the same time, I feel like I can help with the flow of a performance if I can just kind of play what comes to mind as opposed to what's down on a piece of paper.
Man, in other words, to translate this, folks, he don't need no stinking set list.
Well, if you put it that way, yeah.
He's amazing. It's just amazing, Kenny. And it is such a professional and polished way to perform like that. And you do it as well as anyone I have ever heard. And I'm not just kidding you, folks. It's a real deal.
And Michael, I appreciate you saying that. And also, and part of that, and I'll have to say, and I tell young people that ask for advice, there's so much that comes with experience with being in the music business or any business for a long period of time.
Yeah, and they got to play with little Jimmy Dickens, for crying out loud.
Love little Jimmy. You had mentioned the background voices and the singing that I had during my show. I actually, as an acoustic solo performer, you have to develop some little aids at some point to help with your show. I found a device called a loop station that enables me to essentially record live what I'm doing at the time. And then I can actually go back and overdub or sing over a previous chorus with harmony. I can bring out my harmonica and play a little melodic thing along with that.
I heard all those things. Yes.
Yeah. But it's all actually done with this loop station, and it's quite a device. It's a wonderful addition to live performing.
Well, and as a listener, as an audience member, if you close your eyes and just listen, it's like all that stuff just appears. And I mean, it's not just background, folks. It's part of his production. And it's just an amazing thing.
It's something I've had a lot of fun with it, and I've learned a lot. You have to be careful with a loop station because it is a little mini recorder, digital recorder. If you hit the wrong button at the wrong time, all hell breaks loose, and so that's something I have to be aware of.
All right, well, Kenny, now let's do this. Let's just break right here, right quick, and say, folks, if you'll go to freerangetexan.net and click on the blog, there's lots of great pictures of Kenny and a little article about Kenny there. And
you mean you actually found some great pictures of me?
My impressions of you. I'm telling you, they're my impressions of you, Kenny. Then also there, Kenny, we have one of your great videos that I really enjoy. Heartland is the name of that.
Yes. Heartland is actually on my first solo album that I did called Kenny Mains, and really enjoyed doing that. It's a song that talks about getting back to your roots, and I really emphasize the fact that sometimes it's not concrete and brick and mortar that we are drawn to. It's the dirt roads that we grew up on.
Absolutely. So, that's cool. And then the rest of that story is that there is a link there in the article about Kenny Mains to KennyMains.com. So that's how you get in touch with Kenny, because if you've been paying attention, he is the greatest guy that you can get to come to any kind of professional banquet or performance of any type.
Appreciate that.
If you can get Kenny Mains there, you're going to have something that everyone will really enjoy.
And because you know my mantra.
Yes. Yeah. Have guitar, will travel.
That's right.
That is so cool. You're just cool like that, aren't you?
No, that's something I came up with that back with my first solo performance, or first solo CD, and have been using that over the years. And because it really is true that I, that's my tool is my guitar and my voice. So I love to strap on the guitar and hit the road. We'll go wherever need be just to try to entertain people. And that's what I love doing.
I want to tell everybody something that Kenny Mains did us a remarkable favor here on the Free Range Texan, not just giving us time for this interview, but also we asked him for some samples of his music and so on and so forth, so we could build and what we call frame this interview. And we've got another song of Kenny's we're going to do, but all I said to Kenny was, Kenny, we want this to be some of your original stuff that really that you really carry in your heart, that we can archive on this podcast. Kenny sent us the second piece of music called Out of Control. And he said, this has been my life, Out of Control. And I had not listened to it yet. And so I thought, wow, that's going to be a humdinger, baby. And,
it sounds like heavy metal or something, but it's not that.
But then we got in the studio and we were putting together stuff for this episode, and I said, hey, let's listen to Kenny's music here. And we listened to Out of Control, and well, I'll just tell you, everyone here was very touched by that piece of music. What's the backstory on that song?
That song, I have to give credit to, at the time, our pastor at Aldersgate Methodist Church, Mike Schaefer, preached a sermon on letting God have control of every single part of your life, the big stuff and the little stuff. I think so many times, we all are guilty of getting up in the morning and saying, okay, God, I got this little problem here, but I can handle it. You take care of the big stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And every time I've done that, I swear to you, I've fallen flat on my face.
Oh, my.
And then, Michael, then I realized that's where I need to be. And so just giving it up, giving all control to God, every beat of my heart, every breath I breathe, every word I say or sing, every note I play, I do it to honor my Creator.
I believe that, Kenny.
Well, and it really is. And you'd ask me, this is really all your fault because you asked me to send you a song that defined me. And that really, and once again, I still struggle and I stumble. But that song has spoken to me, and praise God, has ministered to other people around the country more than anything I've ever written.
Kenny, do you remember Big Ed Wilkes?
Absolutely.
Did the morning show for a long, long time.
Oh gosh, KFYO, and then had his own show for a number of years.
Well, he had a sidekick that was just always there, a guy by the name of Bud Andrews.
Yes.
And you probably remember Bud.
Oh, absolutely.
Both of them have passed away now, but one time you did an interview with me on a little AM station in Lubbock, Texas, and Bud Andrews was sitting in the studio, and you came in just like you always do. You come in humbly and sit down and very friendly, and we got onto the program, and you did a couple of songs with your guitar, and they were just so great and powerful. And then you got up and walked out. Bud Andrews turned to me, and he said, "Now you've had the best."
Oh my gosh, that was sweet of Bud.
And I knew he was right, man.
Well, I tell you, Michael, all I can say, and I really, I have admired so many great singers and songwriters, and it's easy to be humbled by what I've been inspired by, but also by your kind words and the nice things that people say, and so that it really has been that. But my bottom line is, I have a passion for what I do, and thank God that He has enabled me, made it possible for me to ply my trade around the country with my guitar and my voice.
Kenny Main's our guest here on the Free Range Texan. And Kenny, dear brother, promise me that we can get you back sometime. We'll pull you in one more time here on the Free Range Texan.
I'll be sitting by the phone, Michael, so give me a call.
Oh, you're bad, man. Okay. All right, everybody. So let us share this with you now. This is Kenny's song, Out of Control, on the Free Range Texan podcast.
I sit here alone, afraid of the dark. Where does it end? Where do I start? Too much to handle. Why do I have to be strong? Then I hear your voice, the touch of your hand. You open my eyes, and I understand. You are the light in my life, the words to my song. Now I'm out of control. My life's not my own. Out of control, where I belong, wherever you lead, I'm never alone. With you in my life, I'm out of control. Nailed to a cross, with tears in his eyes, in his Father's hands, he trusted his life. He rescued me, he paid the debt that I owed. I go where you go, you say. Jesus, I'm sure it's my life you saved. Lord, I surrender my life, my heart and my soul. Now I'm out of control. My life's not my own. Out of control. Where I belong, wherever you lead, I'm never alone. With you in my life, I'm out of control. My life's not my own. Out of control. Where I belong, wherever you lead, I'm never alone. With you in my life, I'm out of control. Keep me out of control.
You've been listening to the Free Range Talent File. If you'd like more information about our guest, just go to our website at freerangetexan.net. Also, submissions to be interviewed on the Free Range Talent File should be sent to our website at freerangetexan.net. Howdy, I'm Michael Shawn. Welcome to our Campfire. There's some cowboy coffee over there. Make yourself at home. Now, this story is about the fact that in a stream, a cold, clear mountain stream in Colorado, is a wooden chest full of gold coins. And in this story, we'll tell you exactly where the stream is at, and approximately where the golden treasure lays under the icy waters. There's even said to be a ghost there trying to reveal the exact location of the gold. There are those who claim to have seen him anyway. Interestingly enough, at the time the wooden chest of gold was thrown into the stream, Fort Garland in the San Luis Valley of southern Colorado was commanded by none other than Kit Carson. In that day, it was a dangerous place. There was little to amuse the soldiers at the lonely outpost. But the paymaster was an experienced fisherman. And like most fishermen, particularly trout fishermen, he had several friends who took pleasure in coming along. These were mostly older men who weren't really afraid of the somewhat haunted, snow-covered ridges to the south, the secret canyons through which the Trinchera Creek flowed. So the day came when the paymaster left the fort in a horse-drawn wagon with a mounted guard of 4 soldiers. He was headed south to Fort Union, New Mexico, to bring back the payroll for the men and the officers of Fort Garland. Actually, the paymaster didn't worry about the trip back. He knew the country really well, at least as well as any white man. And he was a brave sort of fellow. Finally, he was only a few miles from Fort Garland on his way back. It was late afternoon as he rode through some of his favorite fishing country. He thought to himself that he would soon be back this way with some of his friends. The clip-clop of the horses going down the steep, winding grade along the Trinchera Creek were the only sounds made through the Colorado forest. just as they reached a flat area opposite the entrance to Grayback Gulch. The sharp sounds of gunshots broke the quiet mountain air. The 4 guards dropped from their horses, riddled with bullets. The horses pulling the wagon spooked and lit out at a dead run down the twisting narrow road with bandits in pursuit. The paymaster was mortally wounded, but still able to breathe through bloody nostrils and throat. He managed to pull the iron box up onto his knees and struggled to keep his balance as the wagon lurched back and forth. He managed to wait until he was at the exact right spot where he would pass by a deep hole in the creek where he had often fished. With one last effort, the dying paymaster heaved the heavy pay chest from the wagon, and it landed with a big kerplunk and a loud splash right in the center of the deepest water. He fell back onto the seat of the wagon while the panicked horses continued to dash on. It was only a few minutes later when the lookout at the fort saw the wagon coming. All of the horses at a dead run, thrashing through the cloud of dust. The wagon was driverless. Soldiers began pouring out of the fort to watch the approaching wagon. Uniformed and mounted soldiers raced along to catch up and managed to stop the lathered horses. They found the paymaster lying in the wagon, half conscious. With his last breath, he managed to say, "The fishing hole. Ask friends. It's near." And with that, he died. Soldiers leaped quickly to their horses to chase the fleeing bandits, while others were dispatched to bring the bodies of the 4 guards. All were dead and brought back for burial at Fort Garland. Another detachment was sent to search the waters of Trinchera Creek. They began to search where the first man fell. There they found nothing. One friend after another of the paymaster felt they were sure they could find the favorite fishing hole. But each time, there was nothing on the bottom of the creek but rocks. It was only a few weeks later that the ghost was first seen by 2 troopers on duty. Thinking it was some kind of wounded officer who had made his escape from the Indians in the area, they shouted for the sergeant of the guard as a few startled troopers dashed from the gates to assist the wounded apparition. But as they ran toward him, the figure just dissolved like a cloud, its blue uniform fading into the gray of the sagebrush. Its imploring eyes seemed to plead for help until the very last. Then there was nothing except the echo of the wind through the valley and the reddish glow of the sun on the looming Sangre de Cristo mountains in the dusk. Years later, when the fort was restored, the old wooden building, once the headquarters, was made into a museum. At the desk sits a wax figure of Commandant Kit Carson, the blue uniform covering his waxen shoulders. It's here that the ghost has been seen late at night, wearing a blood-stained blue uniform and standing next to Kit Carson's desk as if he were trying to tell him something. He lifts his arm to point, and the shadowy specter disappears as mysteriously as it had appeared. The paymaster's ghost still haunts the fort, looking for someone to listen. And to this day, somewhere at the bottom of a deep pool in Trinchera Creek is a chest full of gold. It's just another tale from our campfire. I'm Michael Shawn. Adios, my friends. Well, now we're pulling up stakes on our episode 59 of our Free Range Texan podcast. I'm actually a descendant of Kit Carson from my mother's mother, my grandmother Gladys Bowman's side of the family, making that campfire story a little more real all those years later. And a big thank you to our very special guest, Kenny Maines. It has always been so, and he is still, to this day, the best. If you have not subscribed to our podcast, please subscribe. We'd really appreciate that. It costs you nothing, but it helps a lot on our end. Our guest in our next episode has us traveling back to Canada for a visit with a very cool young artist, Shimmer Johnson. And I can't help but notice we are totally out of time. Foxy, get in the pickup. Take 'em home, sweetie pie.
Thank y'all for listening to the Free Range Texan podcast, produced at 18PR Studios, out yonder in West Texas, with our host, who's been voted the hardest working man in podcasting, Michael Shawn. Feedback or submissions to our program can be submitted on our website, freerangetexan.net. That's freerangetexan.net. This is Sweetie Pie on behalf of Michael Shawn and the crew here in Studio A, where we're all looking forward to spending time with you on our next episode of the Free Range Texan podcast. Y'all come back now, you hear?
An 18PR production. End transmission.
That's all. Can we go now, Dad?